All right, it's Tuesday, and guess who's back? Back again.
He's so proud of himself today. He's been promoting himself all day long. Guess who's gonna be on WWPN tonight?
I'm doing tech and camera. Check that out. Multitasking.
Only because he wouldn't let me.
Well, it's because we're yeah. I can't let her play with the buttons. She is the master button pusher. But not tonight.
Not tonight.
Not tonight.
I'm gonna hand that over to Kim here.
Woohoo! Gotta get something.
Something.
Hide behind that camera all this long. I'm going crazy.
I know. We gotta get him out there. It's Kim Anderson. What?
So, and what a night to come on. Check this out. I can't
Seriously.
believe this. This crazy girl of mine's been telling me about this kind of scenario for a long time now. And she happened to drum one up. I mean, this is awesome. This is paranormal at its finest.
Oh, for sure. Like I was saying, I was telling him, this is like a paranormal investigator's dream case. I mean, seriously, if this could happen to a paranormal investigator and get these kind of results, I don't think they'd be like, okay, well, what more can we do?
What she's talking about, check this out, is a true crime case. This really happened, and it haunted this poor girl that's on with us tonight. I mean, that doesn't get any better backup. I mean, that's like getting an EVP with a first and last name. I mean, that is super cool. I mean, you have true life crime. That is insane. And I know Cammie's been crazy about this for a long time. And, you know, we had talked about it before and thought maybe it was a hard thing to find.
Right.
And sure enough, it's happening.
Well, here it is. I mean, it's just the most amazing story, and you guys, it gives me chills every time I think about it. Just chills. Oh,
I got chills, they're multiplying. So, with that and my debut of, you know, singing Grease and camera again, let's introduce our guest tonight. This is awesome.
Yes, we have Jodi Foster here, and she is not only Jodi Foster, but she's written a book about it. She's had her case been on Sci-Fi, on Paranormal Witness. So welcome, Jodi. Say hi to all of our viewers.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Jodi Foster. You seen her in all the movies. No. Silence of the Lambs. No. But
different Jodi Foster.
She has got it better than that Jodi Foster.
Yeah, I get that all the time, especially when I call up to like pay a bill or something. They ask me, "Are you the real Jodi Foster?" And I say, "I'm the real Jodi Foster."
Does it get me a discount? That's what I've been.
If you want to charge the actress Jodi Foster, that'd be great with me.
That's right. Send it to the new address.
I know. Billing address is.
So, Jodi Foster.
Jodi Foster. You know, you've written a book about this.
Yes.
And it's called Forgotten Burial: A Cry for Help from Beyond the Grave. It's going to be in a second print here in February of 2014, right?
Right. I wrote a book called Forgotten Burial: A Restless Spirit's Plea for Justice. That was the first book. And then Llewellyn Publishing got a hold of me and my story, and it's going to be republished with new content in it. And it'll be available for pre-order starting September of this year, but the release date is February 8th, 2014.
Oh.
And it's my story.
So that's exciting.
Jodi, in a nutshell, let's just, before we break it down, I think let's give the viewers, let's tell them what this is in a nutshell, because I don't know that everybody knows what, like, a true life crime has to do with the paranormal.
Right. So let's start from the beginning. I mean, if they didn't see and don't know, let's just kind of build it up and start from the beginning of this story.
Okay. Well, actually, my story kind of began when I moved from Montana to Chico, California in the year 1999. I moved from this rural community where I'd been living with my mom, who was this is kind of a funny story too, and I wrote about this all in the book. It's all detailed in the book, but we lived in a teepee in Montana on the Canadian border in the middle of an Amish.
Wait,
Jodi. You gotta back this up a little bit.
A teepee?
Okay.
We're talking like cowboys and Indians teepee, right?
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
My mom was a hippie from the 60s, and so, yeah.
Oh my God, your mom and my mom must have known each other.
For
Yeah,
real.
that's the kind of alternative life I had growing up. And I always kind of longed for, like, normalcy, I guess, or whatever. Did you ever see that show, Family Ties? And Michael Keaton, or what's his name, Michael Fox? He's like the Republican, like, little tidy guy. It's like, with this alternative family. I felt like that person in my family.
You lived in a damn teepee, Jodi. What do you think
I was like, God, I can't do this anymore. It was crazy. So I write about all this stuff in the book too, which makes my life pretty interesting, to say the least.
I can only imagine. Okay, so let's go back to you're living in a teepee.
Yeah.
In Montana.
I'm in rural Montana, in the middle of the Amish community, in a teepee with my mom and my daughter Hannah. And I had lived in Chico, California for a little while my grandmother had cancer. My grandma lived here in Chico. And so I kept having this vision of moving back to Chico where it would be warm, because I kind of was so tired of the over my head snow, and it's just so
no TV and
yeah, because teepees don't have TVs
no
normally.
TV, no bathroom.
Yeah, exactly.
Really? The damn snow.
So then,
And that's what did it.
yeah. So my friend, I also had a friend here named Edie who kept saying to me, Jodi, why don't you just come back to Chico? It's so easy to raise a family here. It's warm, the culture, the school. There's a college here.
Indoor playing.
And I'm like, yeah, so basically I planned out my escape from Montana to Chico.
Your escape. Oh. Well, so what did you do? Did you just say, okay, I'm going to come live with you, Edie?
Well, actually, I was a poor mom. I was a poor single mom, and so I basically rented this little cabin in a town called Eureka, and I worked in this old, like, it was an old rundown, like, turn of the century hospital where I had to, like, this man had bought this piece of property and he was renovating it, so I earned money to move to California by helping this man clear out this old, disgusting, like, turn-of-the-century hospital in Eureka, Montana. Me and a bunch of other Montana, like, old boys, mountain men, and, hear me. I have my little kid on a backpack, and I'm cleaning out this horrible hospital to move to Chico, California.
Oh, geez.
So Edie had extended an invitation, so once I got enough money together, I was able to, come to Chico and stay with her for a couple weeks, and then I kind of had my money all budgeted out so that when I got here, excuse me, I was able to, like, I had to find something reasonably priced, because still,
right. Single mom. Yeah. There wasn't a hospital that you could carry around Hannah on your back.
Cleaning out the hospital just wasn't lucrative, huh?
Oh my gosh, that's a story too. But I touch on that in the book. There's lots of details in the book, but that was kind of another hair on the back of your neck raising experience.
Well, I'll tell you,
Jeez.
we haven't even got into the good part of it, and you've lived in a teepee in Amish land carrying your kid around in a papoose.
Yes.
Are you sure you're not Native American?
Life is a book.
Really? You're not even a gypsy at this point. You're a damn Indian. That's what. You're part black. You got some Blackfoot in you at least.
Well, actually, I have Cherokee Indian.
There it is. I knew it. You're 2 braids away from that about this point. It's no wonder you've been haunted.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, so this crazy adventure of mine started when I moved to Chico from Montana, and so saved up my money, had the extended invitation from Edie, my friend, and she like I said, she said, well, you know, you can come here to Chico and you can stay with us for as long as you need until you can find a place.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, I basically got on the train at like midnight in Whitefish, Montana with my daughter, and I headed to California. And it was like a 2-day trip, and I just remember thinking to myself, oh, I'm so excited. I can't wait to get to California where it's warm and there's friends, and I really missed, in Chico, there's this really big pool called 1 Mile, and it's this really cool place to, like, you know, ride your bike and stuff. And actually, its claim to fame is that the original Robin Hood with Errol Flynn was filmed here in Chico. So it's a really cool park.
Robin Hood, huh?
The original, Robin Hood. Back, when was that? It was like 20s or 30s.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was
Jodi,
quite some time ago.
Well, Jodi, we're dating ourselves, and we're dating ourselves, and we're not that old.
No. I am definitely not that old.
Yeah. I'm not either. So, can we at least say like Men in Tights Robin Hood? That's a little.
Yeah, I know. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, I know. For all the young listeners, are gonna be like, "What?"
Yeah.
I know the what? The 20s Robin Hood? What?
Yeah,
Is that what Kevin Costner
There was the
played
one
in?
before Kevin Costner? I don't think so.
That one's old.
Yeah,
Jeez.
that one's way old. I remember my mom talked about that.
Okay, let's go back up. I'm so excited to hear your story. Let's get back to
we finally got to indoor plumbing. So.
Yeah, we're indoor plumbing. You're
indoor.
living with your friend in Chico, California.
Right.
And then what happened at that point?
So I was living with Edie. I finally got here, and basically, you know, I was like, gosh, I really need to find my own place because this is not going to work out living with, you know, my friend and her husband and her two kids. And so Hannah and I, being on a bicycle, we got on a bicycle and we started to ride around Chico looking for a reasonable apartment to rent. And so it was weird because I was just kind of, you know, like going down different streets and just kind of looking in the newspaper and different things. And then this one apartment, I remember riding the bike down the street, and here's Hannah in this little like baby bike seat with a little helmet on, you know.
How cute.
And, what's that?
I said, how cute.
Well, you're in the big city now. The papoose just isn't going to work.
Right. No, there were no cows.
Yeah.
Peas, you know, or anything. And so, just lots of cars and, you know, just...
and one bike.
And one bike.
Yeah. And bicycles, you know. So, anyway, it was pretty funny. And so we're just, you know, tooling around Chico on the bike, and we came across this complex called Walnut Gardens. And when I rode up, I kind of thought it looked from the outside, you know, pretty inviting. It just looked like your typical, you know, 2-story apartment, with, you know, some trees around it. But it just looked like a little family place. And so we walked in, and we went to the manager's office, and there was nothing. When I originally walked up into the apartment complex, there was nothing that really stood out or anything or gave me the chills. It just seemed normal. Like, but what I guess was in the back of my mind was I had a little kid, and so I wanted to have a downstairs apartment. So that was the only kind of real, I guess, you know, criteria that I had, or some thoughts that I had, was that I really want to be in a downstairs apartment with a little kid, you know, who knows, just in case she falls down the stairs.
Yeah.
being the paranoid mom that I was.
Yeah, well, you can't just put a baby gate at the top of an apartment staircase. You know, that's just
Yeah, it
not
was
going to
weird.
work.
Okay, now we need all the crackheads here to shut the gate when you leave.
Yeah.
That doesn't work.
Basically, yeah, so I go in and the manager seemed really cool and really nice, and I told her, you know, I really want a downstairs apartment, and she said, well, unfortunately, we only have an upstairs apartment right now available, but as soon as a downstairs comes available, I can guarantee that you'll, you know, be able to move in the downstairs if you want to take the upstairs right now. And she kind of gave me the heads up that there was going to be a downstairs apartment available, like, within the next month or so.
Well, that's a relief.
Yeah, and so I end up, because the price was right,
Mm-hmm.
and the location looked okay,
Could be
and I
worse.
was on a limited budget, I decided, well, you know what? I'll take it, because
So
I'll be
basically,
downstairs.
she said you can have it, and you said great. This beats the teepee.
I was like, okay, done deal. Stamp. Yeah. So I take the apartment, I put the deposit and everything down, and then I go to Edie, and basically when I moved from Montana, I didn't have anything but 2 suitcases full of stuff, so I really didn't have much. And so I went back to Edie's house and told her, you know, the exciting news. Hey, I found this really cool apartment, and unfortunately it's an upstairs, number 14, but I'm going to get it downstairs as soon as it's available. And so she's like, oh, no problem. We'll just get a bunch of, you know, our friends together and, you know, get a couch and whatever you need, we'll get it together. And so I'm like, cool. And so I was really excited. I was like, cool, I'm warm. I'm in California. And then I was like,
So have you seen inside the apartment yet? Have you actually physically been in it?
I did see inside. She showed me the apartment.
There was no
She
like
took-
chalk outlines on the ground or anything to.
Oh my gosh, you know what, you guys? This is like the most weird thing that just now happened. My battery in my phone completely just went out. Are you guys still there?
Yes.
We can't hear you.
How did that happen? The battery just got completely sucked out. There's no like battery left in this phone.
Well, we have that happen to us quite a bit.
You know, I think that every time, there's just something about the paranormal. You get talking about the paranormal, you get talking about ghosts, you get talking about aliens, you get talking about anything like that, and it sucks the power out of pretty much everything, causes interference, whatever it is. That's
Oh
why
my God.
people, we have these kind of technical issues.
Yeah,
every time.
it's
Every
not
time.
me.
Okay.
It's not me.
Oh my gosh, this phone is totally gonna die any second now. I can't believe this. So I'm gonna keep talking, and then I'm gonna.
Well, so close.
Plug it in, Jodi, plug it in.
Oh my gosh, this is crazy. This is because you're right. We're talking paranormal now, so obviously we're gonna have like some weird stuff going on.
Every time,
Yeah.
every time, it never fails.
The,
That is so weird. I was just looking at the battery, and it was full, and it just completely sucked it out. That is so weird.
it doesn't surprise us.
No, it doesn't. We
I am
prepare
gonna-
for this.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you guys a call right back on the other phone that is plugged in and
Okay.
charged.
Okay, call back.
We're gonna play hold music.
I'll talk to you.
Okay. We really don't have hold music, guys,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Dun,
It's-
dun, dun,
Kim will
dun,
sing.
dun.
La, la.
What was my Grease fame? I don't know.
What, you don't want to be like John Travolta?
I couldn't remember what I was trying to sing earlier.
No?
No. Do you remember?
No, but sing Grease Lightning. That one always
Go
works.
Grease lightning. No. So if I'm glad it's not our phone this time. That's all I can say. It's not me. I'm in front of the camera.
Seriously, guys?
You guys think that this is us all the time. This isn't us. There's forces against us, and obviously somebody doesn't want us talking to Jodi Foster. Did I say Jodi Foster? Yeah, Jodi
It's
Foster
Jodi
from
Foster.
Yeah, Jodi from Hannibal Lecter. Jodi Foster.
It's not. It's not really.
They don't know.
This is Jodi Foster.
Actually, I think Jodi Foster, our Jodi Foster, the one we're talking to, has a much more interesting story. And I'm going to give it to you a little bit in a nutshell here.
No, you're not.
No, I'm not. She's back on line.
Jodi.
Hello?
Well, I was all prepared to tell your story, Jodi.
Yeah, he was going to be like, I'm Jodi Foster, and
I
I
got
wrote a book.
I got this thing. I got this memorized. This story still just intrigues the hell out of me. I think I have bad luck sometimes.
Well, it depends on your perception of it. I would see this as good luck. I'd be like, you know what? It sucked being haunted, but look at what came out of it. I mean,
no, I would think I think I was crazy is what I would think.
Who wouldn't? Okay, well, let's go in. We still haven't told them what actually happened. Okay,
so we're still moving in with Jodi. We just moved into Jodi's house.
We're moving into Jodi's house.
Second story apartment.
Right, after friends have got together, got some furniture. She's got the baby gate up and the, apartment staircase. Just kidding, she really
Oh, my
God. Okay, so you moved in.
All right, so let's hope that this phone stays charged.
Oh, I'm sure it will.
Okay, so then I moved into the apartment, and yes, I did actually get to see, the manager took me around, to look at it and stuff, and so I didn't have any weird feelings or anything when I moved in. I just felt like it, like when you go into an apartment and it's empty, you just kind of have that empty feeling.
Yeah.
That was the only thing I had. It was like, oh, it just kind of seemed empty, and it needed, like, the homey feeling.
Right. Put a little picture on the wall, put some drapes over here, and then it's your home.
Homey. See, I was thinking, like, a bunch of little gangsters with their pants down.
Oh, no. Homey as in flowers.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. Homey as in, there weren't...
Homey don't do that, okay?
Homey not like that? Okay. Whew.
Okay, so you need homey touches.
Sorry, Jodi, I've been off the air for a little bit.
He's been saving up all these
I've been
jokes.
saving them all up, and you're the poor sucker with the phone that doesn't work that's going to get them all. So.
Oh, my gosh. All this energy, we're sucking the energy.
Oh, big time.
Great, I love it.
Okay, so you need some homey touches.
That's the story. So back to moving in. So basically, now back to the boring part. It's moving in, and upon moving in, the first night, basically, like we got it all decorated with the stuff. Edie and I did, and I'm in number 14. And the first night I was in there, it seemed okay.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. I didn't have a TV at the time.
Okay.
But I had, like, a radio, and I had some different, some books. And so I was just laying in bed with Hannah, sleeping, or reading a book, and then we fell asleep. So when I fall asleep, I have this really, like, vivid, bizarre dream, and the dream that I had seemed like it was of a predatory nature, and I saw a couple. I saw actually the back of this couple. One of the people that I had witnessed was really tall, a male with brown hair, and then he was walking with a shorter female that had blonde hair, and they had clothing on that looked like, it was from the 70s. And since I grew up in the 70s, I knew what, the 70s
Right.
Like.
Yeah, your mom was the inventor of those clothes, it sounds like.
Yes. Lots of buckskin and tie-dye and bell-bottoms.
Yeah.
So anyway, during this dream, I just noticed this, couple, and it looked like they were at the apartment complex that I was living in now. And they were walking on the back side where my apartment was, and for some reason, I noticed on the back of this man, he had a kind of a thick leather belt that was brown, and in the belt, I could see an H.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't understand what the H was, and why am I seeing this, and why does this dream seem so real, and why is it that I'm walking behind this couple that I've never seen before?
Right.
In my entire life.
All valid questions.
Yeah, it's weirdly enough, I'm doing this as I'm dreaming. I'm questioning during the dream.
Huh.
Questioning, who this is, and why am I dreaming this, and how did I know it was a dream? It was just really weird.
Yeah, I'd say.
So I wake up, boom, like all of a sudden at 3:37 in the morning, during this dream, I wake up and I look over the clock and it's 3:37, and I'm like, God, that's weird, and I'm kind of have like a little mini meltdown, a panic attack, and I'm like, oh my God, is there someone outside like stalking this like complex, and why are they wearing clothes from the 70s? It was really, really weird.
So it was that
And
vivid.
so,
It was that vivid.
It was that vivid to the point, where I was like, this is not like any other dream I've experienced. I mean, I guess I go into detail in the book about a couple other dreams and experiences I had as a child, but as an adult, this was the first really vivid, strange dream that I had that really scared me, actually.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
I couldn't
especially
find the
if you're feeling like they're predators or something like that. I mean, that's gotta be, I mean, yeah, scary.
And then I was like trying to rationalize it in my mind. I kept thinking, okay, well, I just moved from Montana. I'm probably just stressed out. There could be, maybe I ate something bad.
Don't eat the bad food. It causes vivid dreams.
Yeah, you're in California now. I mean, hung out on Venice Beach, And
she bought the
Well,
shrimp.
mind you, it's Northern California too, so
oh, jeez.
There's no beaches around. But so it's really strange, and it scared me. And I I was like, okay, calm down, Jodi. Just quit freaking out. Who cares? Go back to sleep. So I ended up going back to sleep, and and everything was okay until the following morning when I woke up with Hannah, and I was like, for some reason I just couldn't get that like image of the couple that I was dreaming about out of my mind, and it just kind of like sat in my heart and in my stomach.
Mm-hmm.
And for the life of me, I was like, what is going on? Why am I obsessing over a dream? This is stupid.
Well, I've had dreams like that before. I mean, where you've had like really vivid dreams that, you wake up and you're like, oh, that was too real. I mean, I've had that. Did you ever think that, at any point, did you think these are not normal dreams?
Not at that point in time. I didn't think that. This was like the beginning of the adventure.
Right.
So, but it was scary enough to where I was obsessing about it now, because I thought, oh my God, I'm losing it. I'm sign me up for some medication or something.
No more watching Natural Born Killers.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No scary movies before bed.
And the thing was, when I was falling asleep, like I said, I didn't have a TV, so I was reading books, and the books that I would usually read would be either, some kind of a Barney Sesame Street.
So if those cause bad dreams, that's not good at all.
Yeah. So when you're dreaming of Crazy Barney, that kind of makes sense. When you're dreaming about someone you've never met or seen before so vividly, it's really daunting.
Right. So what happened at that point? I mean, were you able to get back to sleep, and then you woke up, and then what?
Yeah. So the following day, like I said, I was kind of like, that was weird. So I kind of just blew it off and just thought, okay, well, whatever. It was a dream, no biggie. Get over it. Went about my, daily routine with Hannah, and I called Edie because she was, kind of like my touchstone. I kind of was like, hey, Edie, how's it going? I had this really weird dream last night. It was really vivid. Have you ever had vivid dreams? It was just, I kind of told her about the dreams, and she kind of basically said, oh, you're just stressed out. You just moved. You moved from Montana. You just moved into a new apartment. You're just probably worried.
The big city life's getting to you.
What?
The big city life is getting to you.
Yes, the big city life of Chico, California. So I'm like, okay, thanks for the pep talk. I'm ready to go, to my daily life. So that night, the following night, I went, about my routine again with Hannah, making dinner, boring life, go back to sleep. Same thing happens to me. I have another dream. And again, I'm seeing a couple, the same couple.
The same couple.
The same exact couple. in the dream, only this time I saw the face of the man. And I noticed that this time he had glasses on.
Huh.
And, yeah, so that was another odd, I'm like, what? And his face, he didn't really have any kind of he wasn't scary looking. He was just odd looking in the dream. And plain, but very tall and very, lanky and skinny and pasty kind of, pasty white skin.
Right.
But the one thing that I couldn't see during this dream was the woman. I couldn't see any features on her whatsoever. The only feature that I could see during this dream was that she had blonde hair.
Uh-huh.
And so, again, they were on the back side of the complex, and they were walking. It was like they were walking back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So, I'm observing
Like in front of your apartment complex.
Well, the way the apartment is arranged, it's that there's a pool in the center of the complex, and it's like a kind of like a triangle.
Okay.
With a pool in the center.
Okay.
And so there was the back side of the triangle, and so there was this walkway on the back side where people would park their cars, and then there was a wooden gate and a walkway. And so for some reason, this is where the couple was walking back and forth. And I'm observing this in the dream again, and then I get really anxious, and I could feel like just tension building and like they were stalking somebody.
Uh-huh.
And so I wake up, boom, look over at the clock, 3:37 in the morning again. Now this time I think this is real. So I grab Hannah and I woke her up, and she's like, Mommy, what's wrong? And I'm like, come on, Hannah. So I look out the back end of the complex to see if they're actually out there.
Uh-huh.
Of course there's nobody there.
Right.
So stupid me, I'm like, oh my God, there's something wrong. And so I'm having a panic attack, and I'm thinking there's someone there in the complex seriously out to get us. So I run across to the neighbor's apartment at like freaking 4 o'clock in the morning, knocking on their door as though they're going to save me.
Like, save me from these stalker people in my dream. They'd be like, oh, man.
Yeah. And then for some reason, like, all of a sudden I catch my senses, and I'm like, good God, what am I doing? I'm like knocking on a neighbor's door that I don't know at 4 o'clock in the morning with a kid screaming, and I'm going to say I had a dream that someone's stalking me? I'm like, God, I'm not.
You know how to make friends, Jodi.
I would have invited you in. I would have been like, come on in, let me make you some coffee. Chocolate milk? What do you want?
Duct tape?
I know. Well, it's not a good way to make a first impression on your neighbor, And so I'm like, good Lord, get it together, woman. And so, I'm like, okay, there's no one here. There's no one here. Why am I doing this? Why am I waking up at 3:37? Who are these people?
Yeah, really.
And so, there again, I rationalized in my mind. I talked myself down from this, completely weird dream. And, I'm like, oh, my God, I'm so embarrassed. Thank God this didn't ask this before. Okay. And so I'm like, okay. I walk back into my apartment. And I have, Hannah on my hip, and she's kind of wide-eyed looking at me like, Mom, what's wrong?
Yeah, what are you doing, Mom? What's going on?
Yeah, she's noticing I'm acting completely off the hook.
Yeah.
And,
so how old was Hannah at this point?
She was 3.
3, okay.
Yeah, so in the docudrama that they did on Sci-Fi, they made her a little bit older than she really was.
Okay.
But at 3 years old, she could talk. She was a little person,
Right.
With, she could tell you, anything, and
right.
very, very smart.
And so you guys are back in there. She's knowing and realizing something's going on. I mean, what do you do at this point? You just go back to bed and try to forget about it?
Well, actually, I couldn't go back to bed at that point. I actually had to, I couldn't sleep, so I had to take Hannah and sit on the living room floor until I could fall asleep. And it was like, until the sunshine came out, I couldn't even, like, it was like I was trying to, like, get myself under control. Like, I couldn't, it's like my mind is like, what am I dreaming this for? Wait a minute, am I crazy? What's going on? Is this stress? Who are these people? Why am I dreaming this? And I couldn't relax. And so I'm saying prayers. I'm like, dear God, help me. I'm freaking out. I'm scared. I don't know why I'm doing this. Am I nuts?
Yeah. I mean, how many of these dreams did you have like that?
Well, ultimately, in the upstairs apartment, I only had probably maybe 7 dreams.
Only maybe 7.
Only 7. I don't know how long though, Jodi.
Only 7. Yeah.
How 6 nighs.
How long did you stay in the apartment? The upstairs apartment.
I was in that apartment for approximately 6 weeks.
Okay.
And then, the time, I'm trying to think of the timeline, but basically I came and stayed with Edie, and then it was Christmas time. I remember being in the upstairs apartment at Christmas time, and things, I would just periodically have these bizarre dreams with this couple that I couldn't, I'm thinking, did I see them on TV? Who are these people?
Right.
Well, I didn't have a TV.
Right.
And nor did I have one in Montana either.
Right, of course.
And were they still wearing the same thing as well in all the dreams?
Always the same clothes. Always the same outfit, and I could never see the blonde woman. I could never see her face. But I could see the man, and I could, like, if I had to pick him out in a lineup or something, I would be able to, like, pick him out, no problem.
Right. And then
but
did
the
you...
woman...
Go ahead, sorry.
Oh, but the woman, all I could see was that she was shorter, with blonde hair, and I honestly couldn't tell you what she was wearing, but I always could see what he was wearing for some reason. It was just in the belt. I'd always see...
Well, some reason...
leather.
It's probably a little more clear as we go.
Yeah, so there's also somebody else that entered your dreams. Did this next person, did they enter your dream in the first apartment, or was that later on in the second?
So, I ended up going, the manager came to me and she tells me, okay, the downstairs apartment is available. You get to move into the downstairs apartment. And I'm like, woohoo!
Yay!
Maybe I'm like, maybe this is all just stress because I'm freaking out about Hannah maybe falling over the edge.
Right.
Maybe I'm just paranoid. Maybe I'm having, like subconsciously I'm dreaming that, I'm trying to work out some sort of something in my mind so that my kid doesn't get hurt.
Right.
So I end up going, she comes to me and she says, Jodi, you want to take a look at the downstairs? It's almost ready. Or actually she said, because there was like a certain time period, because the couple that lived there apparently had up and left in the middle of the night without giving notice.
Wow.
And
lucky for you.
What's that?
Lucky for you.
Well, hindsight.
Yeah, exactly. And so they had up and left in the middle of the night, so they had to leave the apartment vacant for a certain amount of time. The time was up, and so I got to go check it out.
Right.
So I take Hannah, and it was probably maybe around 6 o'clock, 6:30 at night, when I decided to take a stroll down to check it out. And I remember Hannah on my hip, and I remember walking to the front door, and then for some reason, like as I'm opening the front door to this apartment, like the hair on the back of my neck starts to like stand on end. And it was kind of the same feeling that I had when I was working in the old hospital up in Montana. It was that kind of like cold, weird, creepy feeling.
Right.
And so I opened the door of the apartment, and I walk in with Hannah on my hip. And as I'm walking in, it's still kind of dirty-ish from the previous, people. There had been some stuff left in there. And I thought, okay, well, it's just probably because it's dirty and kind of grimy.
Mm-hmm.
Though it's kind of hard to explain. It wasn't a really, it wasn't even that dirty. It just felt really thick. The air felt thick.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing that was really strange is it was super, super cold at the same time. So it was almost like it was freezing, and I recognized that freezing feeling from Montana.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, this is California. Why would it be so darn cold in an apartment in California?
So
Yeah.
What'd you do? Turn around the manager and say, I love this place. I'm going to take it.
It feels like home.
Just like home.
Well, in my rational mind, I was thinking it must just be dirty and this must be, just needed some new paint and
You
carpet.
really wanted a lower basement apartment.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, I did. There was something in my soul actually that said, "Don't move into that apartment." I mean, there was a part of me that was like, "No, don't do it."
Mm-hmm.
Don't, but of course I don't listen to that.
Yeah,
Of course.
famous
Of course.
last words of Eddie Murphy. When you hear the words "get out," that means leave.
Yeah. I know, but stupid me, I didn't know that at the time. And ultimately, I'm glad. I mean, how things turned out, it's like, honestly, it was the beginning of my spiritual discovery.
Right.
And understanding. And so, as I look back and I look over the time and stuff, I think of this episode and this experience as being something that was extremely terrifying and extremely scary and extremely heart-wrenching and just mind-boggling.
Right.
And I ultimately feel that it was like a spiritual awakening for me, because now how I view it as, wow, I was so lucky to experience what I did. And I ultimately was able to assist on a cold case, like murder that had happened from 1976. So
Right.
back to the story.
Back to the story.
Yeah, so I moved down to the apartment, even though I know that I shouldn't.
Right.
And that's when things start to get even more creepy and start to escalate. And now not only am I having dreams, but I'm having actual paranormal anomalies happen in my apartment. I mean, things like, I shut the cupboards at night. Who keeps their cupboards open? I don't know anyone who keeps their cupboards open. But I would go to bed at night, and then all of a sudden I'd wake up to the lights being all on at the same time, the cupboards all being open, things like chairs moved in my apartment. And I would be like, I'm insane.
This is in the new place?
What? This was in the downstairs.
So now wait a minute. So now you already feel creepy about the place. You already feel creepy about the place, right?
Right.
And
right.
so you're already feeling creepy. You wake up the next day and your chairs are all stacked up.
Well, okay, not the next day, but it progressed. It was like in that downstairs apartment. Like the first night, just there was some weird stuff that had happened, and then it was like the lights would go on all by themselves, and I would wake up like, did I leave the lights on?
Well, I understand the light one, but you didn't wake up in the middle of the night and stack your chairs, Jodi. You didn't do that before you went to bed. I mean, that didn't just floor you.
the you-know-what out of me. And at that point in time, I was like, okay, I thought I was insane. Okay, this is the thoughts I was having were, I am nuts. This is not really happening. This is not reality. This is something I'm imagining. So I was struggling with the fact that I'm thinking this didn't really happen, And so I actually have a friend who comes to stay with me because I'm thinking I want someone to watch me because maybe I'm thinking, did I get up in the middle of the night not knowing and stack my chairs up next to my, why would I do that?
So at this point you are blaming it on yourself.
Exactly.
Well, I think you would think you were going crazy. I mean, all this stuff is happening. Why?
Absolutely.
Oh,
So
Lord.
I'm thinking I'm completely insane at this point. But then I'm thinking, how can I be rational and sane? Okay, clearly I need to be watched. So I invite Misty, who's in the documentary,
Right.
and she stays with me. And
Where's Edie now? She wouldn't.
well, Edie's pregnant, and she's just talking to me on the phone like, "Oh, Jodi, you're just having nightmares. This stuff isn't really happening." Although later on, she tells me on the day that we were moving to the downstairs apartment, she doesn't tell me that she has a paranormal experience down there in that apartment
Oh, geez.
herself.
What happened?
And I
Whoa!
was like,
What was her experience? Is it quick?
it was just she was in the apartment by herself, and she was doing some cleaning and arranging and stuff, and she felt like somebody was behind her watching her, and she kept turning around and looking to see if someone was there. And she was by herself, and she was by herself, I guess, for maybe a couple hours, just working alone. And so she just had this uneasy, weird feeling that someone was constantly behind her. And of course, she doesn't tell me this.
Right.
Until,
She doesn't want to freak you out. I mean, things are already going on. You're having these dreams. I mean,
right.
and then, so at what point did you realize that there was somebody else in the apartment? And how did you figure out?
Yeah, Hannah actually, and I write about this in my book in so much more detail. There were so many things that happened, but it was like a progression of like events that eventually there was no way that I could deny it or pretend I was like not experiencing this stuff anymore. And I think the thing that really helped me to understand this on a deeper level was having not only me experience something, but Misty experience something as well.
Right.
Lots of actually. And then the apartment complex manager, they didn't put this in the episode at all on Sci-Fi, but she too went into the apartment next door. She actually lived next door to where I was living, and something really trippy happened to all of us at the same time. And it was Misty, me, Hannah, and Leslie, the manager. And this night, just it's so hard to explain. It's just like the ultimate scary, shaking house, weird dream, or excuse me, experience, not dream. And Leslie's dog jumped out of her arms, ran into my back bedroom, and we all ran to see what the dog was barking at. And there was a phone cord. You remember those like twirly phones, with the receiver?
Yeah.
It was jumping in the air like a jump rope. It was spinning like a jump rope, and the dog was like barking around it and stuff.
Oh my
That's
Lord!
That's really still hard for me to talk about.
Yeah.
It's because I don't like to relive the scariness of it. I like to think of it as more of a spiritual transformation, because I want to take what I learned from those experiences and turn it into something positive for people, so that they know that, ultimately there is a spiritual realm, whether we believe in it or not, or try to deny it. Sometimes it's just undeniable, and it's just smack dab in your face, and it seems scary when you're in the midst of it. ultimately, like, I look at this as there is a spiritual realm. There's something more to life, spirit, existence than just this reality we're experiencing right now.
Right. So let's
And
introduce this next paranormal part. I mean, let's introduce this spirit. Who was it that you finally ended up finding in your apartment that was in your dreams and all that other stuff?
Right. Well, ultimately, after, I'll let you guys read the book or see the hopeful movie in the future to see what actually occurred. But the ultimate, the ultimate thing that I found out was that there was a missing girl, and she was a teenager, and she had lived in the apartment that I had lived in. And in 1976, Cameron and Janice Hooker were looking for sex slaves, and they had this really twisted and bizarre, like, obsession, both of the couple, and their objective in life was to hunt young women and try to, well, they were supposed to, like, have some sort of, like, a dungeon built where they were going to keep sex slaves. And ultimately, they found a couple of victims. Unfortunately, one of the victims that they found, they ended up murdering, and her remains were missing for many, many years. The case was cold for, like, many, many, many years, and no one really even knew that there was that. The girl's name is Marie Liz Hispanicky, and she went missing in 1976. She came out to go to school with her boyfriend here in Chico, California, from Ohio, and she ended up being one of the Hooker's victims. And no one really knew anything about Marie Liz Hispanicky until the Colleen Stan story came out, and I think that was in 1984.
Right.
Janice and Cameron Hooker were known for a notorious, crazy act where they abducted Colleen Stan and held her as a captive sex slave under their bed in a coffin for 7 years alive. And that is just, the story is just, there's so many layers to my story and this story and to Colleen Stan's story, but they're all interconnected. And ultimately, I think that the missing girl, Marie Elizabeth Spanicky, which her nickname is Marliz, she wanted justice to be served, and I reveal certain things in the book that will make you understand why she wanted justice to be served. I know they didn't touch on those things in the sci-fi docudrama, but I talk all about that in the book.
Right.
There's so many bizarre layers to this story, but basically Marie Elizabeth Spanicky's remains were taken up to a remote mountain location, and she was never seen nor heard from again. And that's where my moving into the apartment complex and Hannah having experiences and all the paranormal things kind of escalating comes to a head, and I ultimately end up assisting the police on the cold case murder from 1976. And
right.
So
you were not only having dreams about Cameron and Janice Hooker. At some point, Marie came into the dreams as well, didn't she?
Yes. And she was giving me, like, clues during these dreams. And not only the dreams, but now I look back and it was clues during the haunting in the house.
Right.
Like, things would happen at certain times, and the things with, like, the Ernie doll, which they did touch on that in the episode of Paranormal Witness,
right.
where there was a noose around the Ernie doll's neck. None of that made sense to me at all while I was going through it, or anybody else that was going through it. But then ultimately finding out that Marie Elizabeth was hung in a basement and tortured and ultimately murdered. I mean, I saw those things in dreams, and so when I was assisting the police and the FBI, they were like, "Okay, Jodi, write out every single thing that happened, every detail, every turn, twist, numbers, everything." So the numbers that they had mentioned on Paranormal Witness, they're relevant.
Right.
It's just that they didn't give every single detail.
Right.
But
you have to keep some things kind of quiet, since it's an ongoing case.
Exactly. So the police basically asked me not to talk about my experience or my story until after the year 2010, the middle of 2010, and they wanted, and still do, there are certain things that I'm not supposed to talk about.
Right.
But there's an open murder case, and so because it's an open murder case and they have some information, the problem is that the murder hasn't been convicted yet.
Right.
So the couple hasn't been charged with any crime. It hasn't been charged with the crime of murder yet.
Right, and
they.
Yeah, I mean, and it's really weird because when you go and you look at, because I've done a lot of research on the case, and it was a horrific case. I mean, these people, what they did, or at least at this point what Cameron did and Janice allowed to continue, is just absolutely just horrific. And I mean,
there's no humanity
there
at all.
is just absolute. I mean, just thinking about it makes me sick. Just sick.
And they're absolutely, it's just unbelievable. I can't even tell you how many people have contacted me after my story appeared on Paranormal Witness, and when people read my book, are going to be shocked at some of the revelations in the book, because they didn't touch on those things in the episode. And I think that if you do the research, or if you read my book, people are just going to be ultimately shocked and even more appalled. And hopefully, with all of that in the world, justice will prevail.
Absolutely. I mean, like I was saying, I watched your episode, and just watching it was really hard for me to just watch it because of how I know I would feel because I know you were saying that you were watching some of the things that they did to Marie happen. You were watching her, and she kind of noticed you in a sense, and it was just, I can't even imagine watching that and not even be able to do anything. I mean, I would beat the shit out of that guy. I would, I would totally want to. And I know that in my research, I noticed and I read that Janice she was completely let free because she testified against Cameron. And and I don't.
Colleen Stan case.
Yeah, in the Colleen Stan case. And I guess I don't know for sure exactly what's right and what isn't right, according to like the movies or the documentary, but at some point did it show in your dreams that Janice was participating?
Absolutely. And yes, and there was some things that were confirmed that were not in the public domain, things that the police were able to confirm with me that did actually happen.
Mm-hmm.
And areas, etc., that I was giving them information, and later on they were able to confirm to me, this is not in the public domain.
Right.
And Janice was absolutely, in my opinion, she contributed to this. If it wasn't for her helping her husband, and honestly, she was, a part of this.
I mean, even if she didn't do the physical acts that he did, she was just as much a part of it.
Yeah, there's some really, oh my gosh, anyone wants to contact me, believe me, I'm working on my second book, but there is so much more details that will shock the hell out of everyone. I mean, to the point of where people need to, like, I think, come forward and become enraged about what ultimately has happened.
So, that's a great, we kind of need to go to break here, Jodi, but can you release some of those shocking events? Can you give us a couple of those afterwards?
Yeah, I'll definitely,
Okay.
I'll give you guys some more information. I think it's shocking.
Yeah, I say this is a good time to take a break. I think we take a break, we go see Larry, and when we come back, she is going to tell us some stuff about this case that they haven't even released to the public yet. I mean, this is stuff that even that the wife there was involved in with helping this sicko get away with what he did, and she's going to give us a little insight. So
Right.
We're going to give everybody a real short break this time, and we are going to lose my mouse here. I have done lost it. So we are going to give everybody a short break, and we are going to come back with Larry, and then some surprising events of this case here. So we are going to try and get this computer to work. Technical difficulties again.
I'm telling you.
Yeah,
Master button
we
for
have to talk about
sure.
this stuff.
And there she
Okay,
is.
and we're going to go to break, and we will be right back with Larry from Big Time Paranormal following the break. Short break, guys.
Short. Hang in there. We're going to come back with Larry and some surprising stuff about this case. Hang in there.
Okay, guys, welcome back. We're going to go straight over to Larry from Big Time Paranormal, and then we'll get right back to Jodi Foster. Listen to this guy, he's got some great stuff.
Welcome to Big Time Paranormal. I want to thank everyone over at Worldwide Paranormal Network for allowing me to be here each and every week to present some of the news. My name is Larry Gonzalez, and I run a Facebook page called Big Time Paranormal. I also have Julia Di Maria, who helps me post things on there, and we take shifts to make sure we bring the best for you guys to look at. We also want to thank my wife Maria and my daughter Casey, who helps with the show here to do research and do editing. They are the ones that make me look good. So, with that being said, let's get on with some of the news for the past week. And oh, by the way, we had gotten some responses from last week's show that they liked that we had put in some video to go along with the show. So that's what we're going to be doing from now on. As long as I can find video on some of the stories, that's the way we're going to go. So there'll be other changes too as time goes by. But for now, let's get on with some of the news. The first piece of news actually comes out of China. Now, there was a UFO that supposedly had hit an aircraft. The story goes, Air China flight CA4307 left Chengdu on the morning of June 4th, heading for Guangzhou, something like that. According to the Chinese daily Air China reported the possible collision occurring at 10:11 a.m. The pilot contacted the Chengdu airport and returned to Chengdu for an emergency landing. And we were able to get some video for that on YouTube. So we're going to play it for you right now. Play the video.
Shocking images have emerged from China showing the dented nose cone of a passenger plane after a mystery collision with a suspected UFO. The Air China jet was forced to make an emergency landing. After the incident, airline officials have so far refused to say what caused the damage, but flying saucer experts saying it could have been a UFO. The Boeing 757 passenger plane was flying at around 26,000 feet over China when it was rocked by a huge thud. The pilot immediately called air traffic controllers, who allowed him to touch down at a nearby airfield. It was only when the plane was grounded that the huge dent was spotted. Experts say the aircraft was at such a high altitude the impact is unlikely to have been caused by a flock of birds. with another possible explanation cited as a drone strike, but former government UFO investigator Nick Pope said, "Whatever struck the aircraft will have left evidence." He continued, "Analysis of the damaged nose cone should reveal microscopic traces of whatever struck the aircraft, or possibly even larger pieces of debris. So this is a solvable mystery. The only question is, will the notoriously secretive Chinese authorities reveal the truth about what happened?" Cases like this show that whatever people believe about UFOs.
So there you have it. What hit the aircraft at that altitude? It definitely wasn't birds. And there's no way. Who knows what it is that hit it? I'm not sure if we're going to get any kind of answers, being that China is so secretive. But if any answers do come out of it, we'll let you guys know, okay? Our next story happens to be in China as well. A Chinese farmer jailed for making a rubber alien as the headlight went. He faked an alien, and we got this on YouTube as well. So let's check it out.
Police in China reportedly had a close encounter of the weird kind after questioning a man who claimed to have electrocuted an alien and stored its body in his freezer. The man, known only as Li, posted on an online blog claiming that he confronted 5 aliens on the banks of China's Yellow River. As you do. One of the extraterrestrials was supposedly then killed by a high-voltage electric fence Li had set up to catch wild rabbits. Li then posted photos of the dead alien, which he was keeping in his freezer. Li's story became an internet hit and came to the attention of the police, who Li had tried contacting 3 months earlier. After interrogation from the authorities, Li admitted that it was all a hoax and that he had assembled the body from wire ropes, bone glue and antholeucin. Apparently, he drew his inspiration from the Simon Pegg film Paul and just wanted to make more people believe in aliens.
It's still disputed whether or not UFOs and aliens exist, but we believe they do. We want to expand our group and make more people believe that aliens do exist.
Li was charged with fabricating lies and disrupting normal social order and detained for 5 days. Now he's the one who needs to phone home.
So, as you can see, this guy's in a lot of trouble because he's out there pulling the hoax. What got me was that he was trying to bring awareness to UFOs by what? Faking an alien? Yeah, that's real good thinking. That's real logical. So, good luck to him. In Death Valley, there's these stones that appear to drag across the desert. And there's no footprints or anything yet. No one's ever seen the stones actually move. But yet you see these stones with these trails behind them. Now, somebody actually did a little study on what could have caused it, and this explanation actually comes out to be a very plausible explanation, and it has been on video on YouTube, so we're going to play that for you guys right now. Let's play the video.
They creep slowly through Death Valley, leaving zigzag trails in their wake. Meet the sailing stones of Racetrack Playa. These large rocks scattered around Death Valley's super flat Racetrack Playa mystified scientists for years. They can move as much as 820 feet over a single winter, but no one's ever seen them do it, and there are more than 150 of them. In 1972, scientists decided to figure out how they move. So they named a group of the stones and surveyed the area for 7 years. A 700-pound boulder named Karen never moved during the 7 years of the study. However, even weirder than a boulder named Karen is that a few years later, the scientists came back and Karen had moved a half mile. In 2010, NASA researchers finally solved the mystery of the sailing stones. They buried sensors in the plane and concluded that in March, the Racetrack Playa is covered with pools of melted water from surrounding mountains. At night, it freezes around the bottom of the rocks, creating an ice collar around each stone. And in April, when more runoff hits the plane, the rocks float along on their ice collars, which leave the tracks in the soil. In other words, Karen's not as sneaky as she looks.
So, how he was able to determine this was something that was Ralph Lorenz, a planetary scientist at Johns Hopkins University. Now, what he had done was that he had obviously gotten interested in this because it was such a strange phenomenon. Because there was a lot of people that believe it was paranormal and so on. How could these rocks actually move on their own? Well, what he did was that he studied the water and so on, and the temperature and stuff. And then what he did was he just basically did an experimentation at home. Now, what he did was he got a Tupperware, he put a rock in it, and he filled it with water where the stone was just barely sticking out of the water. He stuck it in the freezer, let it freeze. After it was frozen, he went ahead and got a pan, put sand in the pan, and then he put water just above the sand. And then he took the ice with the rock out of the freezer, took it, flipped it upside down, laid it on top. Now, the ice obviously is buoyant. So then what he did was he just blew on the ice, and the ice just floated across, creating the path in the sand. Explanation. Simple physics. That's all it is. So it looks like that mystery might be solved. Okay, so now we have conventions. We have 2 that I found. Now again, I challenge anyone that if you know anyone or if you are yourself putting on a convention, put together a promo video and send it to us over at Big Time Paranormal on Facebook, and send it to me privately if you wish. And I'll make sure to get it together and post it onto this show so we can show as many people as possible. Plus, we can also post it on Big Time Paranormal. Now, if you wish, you also could send it through Worldwide Paranormal Network, where they can actually get it to me as well. We would love to be able to promote your stuff. Now, the first video is Lost Limbs Foundation Charity Paranormal Convention. Here's the video for it. Okay, so that's video 1. The second one is MI Paracon 4. And here's their promo video for theirs as well. And there you are. A couple of good conventions. I urge that you check them out. Now again, there's nothing like somebody putting together a video to promote these things. I can go ahead and tell people who's going to be there, where it's going to be located, and so on. But I tend to put people to sleep. And that's not what my job is. Otherwise, I could be looking for work elsewhere. I don't want to do that. Anyway, that's it for the conventions for this week. Okay, now we had posted some things on some paranormal teams last week, and I found one that's Best Paranormal Research Investigators YouTube channels. And what they do is they actually point out certain teams and what they do. And I thought it was really good. It helps me because they save me time, at least this week. Next week's I have to go one by one trying to find good videos. But I would urge that anyone that's putting together a team promo video of what they do and so on, make sure you also post there where you're located. Because I looked at these and I have no idea where you're at. You could be in California, you could be in New York, you could be in Canada, you could be anywhere. Unless they say, we're from Ireland, or we're from Scotland, or something like that. I have no idea where you're at. And if I don't know where you're at, people that are watching have no idea where you're at. But here's the first, well, actually the only video we have this week. Check it out.
Welcome to the Weekly Flash, where we expose you to the hottest stuff around the net. I'm your host, Alejandro in Austin. In this week's episode, we feature some of the hottest paranormal investigation teams on YouTube. If you love ghost hunters or if you love ghost adventures, be prepared for some new thrills as we prove that some of the best investigation teams are not on TV. First, with its investigations and how-to videos, the Southern Arizona Ghost and Paranormal Society not only shows you some of the scariest locations in the United States, they also teach you how to create state-of-the-art equipment to perform your own investigations. Established in 2005, the team applies the process of logical observation and modern techniques to debunk acclaimed haunting. From the Oliver House, to the Vulture Mine, to the Birdcage, you get to go along for the ride as they investigate and on occasion find evidence that cannot be explained. In addition, they provide great step-by-step videos on how to create your own investigation equipment. Check out their video on how to build a geophone vibration detector that can be used to validate or debunk a wide variety of claims, from unexplained footsteps to actual furniture moving. If you like whiskey, guitar solos, and fast cars with your electronic voice phenomenon, then the Super Paranormal Action Team is your kind of crew. These guys look more like rock and roll superstars than your everyday plumber-ghost investigator, but the EVP these guys have captured are second to none. In one episode, the action team found EVPs from a Revolutionary War era general who not only lets his presence be known, but seems to have opinions on alcoholic drinks. What results is an interesting investigation where the lead investigator shares a drink or three with the ghost that you just have to see. From investigations to EVP to how-to videos, YouTube has some of the coolest investigation crews around. Do you believe in the ghost and the paranormal? Or are you confident that supernatural does not exist? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. If you like this video, please subscribe and make sure to tune in every Wednesday for a new episode of the Weekly Flash. In the meantime, this is Alejandro in Austin. I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Okay, there you go. Good stuff. Remember, let us know about your team. And remember, let us know where you're located, so we can make sure that people that are even in your town go, I had no idea they were in my town. So check it out. Okay, so we're going to be doing a review. Well, not so much a review, just kind of let you guys know about a movie that's coming out. It's called World War Z, starring Brad Pitt. Now, Brad Pitt's company, Plan B Entertainment, secured the rights for this film in 2007, so it's something that he's been behind for a long time, and he believes in it. Now, I know that they had test marketed with an audience, and they felt that the last third of the movie was a little on the weak side. So they brought writers back in, rewrote it, reshot it, and retested it, and it got tested very well. The audience enjoyed it. So we're going to actually play the most recent trailer for you, but this is a viral trailer, which is something that goes on the internet itself. I thought it was pretty good. So let's take a look at this.
emotionally charged is to try and create this monolithic opposition. To meet ever shorter deadlines, known as beat the clock.
Okay, there you go. Now, for the synopsis of the film, it's very simple. It says the film stars Brad Pitt as Gary Lane, a UN worker who must travel the world to find a way to stop the zombie pandemic that is defeating armies and collapsing governments. So that's just the basic of what the story is about. Since I've been hearing some good things about it, I'm going to check it out myself. I hope you check it out too, especially it has zombies, and you know, I do like Brad Pitt movies. Okay, that's the movie for this week. So, again, I want to thank each and every one of you for being here for this segment. You know, Worldwide Paranormal Network has some things coming up. We also have some things coming up on Big Time Paranormal. I was, in fact, this morning, right before I shot this, Julia Di Maria and I were talking on the phone about some things that we want to give you guys. Also, Maria has also promised that if we hit 1,000 likes, that we would play, I would do a video of me dancing. Now, I haven't forgotten it. We hit 1,000 about 2.5 weeks ago, and I just haven't had time because of my job to get it together, but I have it coming for you guys. And you know what? I'm going to actually show it to you guys first on this show before we actually put on Big Time Paranormal on Facebook. So that will be coming as well. So I want to thank Worldwide Paranormal Network. I want to thank my wife Maria, my daughter Casey, and of course Julia for helping me out on Big Time Paranormal on Facebook again. And I hope all your fathers that had celebrated Father's Day this past Sunday had a wonderful time with your families. And if you're not a father yet, you will understand the blessings of being a father when that day comes. Okay, so with that being said, remember, today is your day. Go out and make it happen. We'll see you next week. Adios.
guys, and that was Larry. We are back.
Yeah, them crazy Chinese people. Larry, what's the deal with them 2 right in a row? I can't believe that they bought that alien. I seen that alien on there, and I was just like, you guys bought into that? I mean, really?
I know, huh? Call me crazy, but how do you bring more awareness to making a lie?
Yeah.
You just don't do that. All right, so our guest, we have Jodi Foster. She is author of Forgotten Burial, A Cry for Help from Beyond the Grave. And she has an amazing story, and we're going to get right back into it. So, so welcome back, Jodi. And when we left off, we were talking about the Cameron Hooker and Janice Hooker case. And
so these 2 creepers, basically.
Yeah.
And these guys are the worst of the worst. I mean, they even look creepy. I don't know, if I seen the 2 on the road, the guy looks like he should have a creeper van with says free candy on the side of it. I mean,
absolutely, I know.
But he does. But everybody that knew him, everybody that saw him, including the family of Colleen Stan, they said he looked like an average guy that you would just see on the street. And that was one of the things that was so scary about him, was that he did look average. You wouldn't look at him and say, okay, here is this sadistic, torture murderer, Yeah,
again, hindsight. Right. Hindsight says that, we know now that this guy's creepy looking and a freak. I mean, we had one of these guys here not too long. Well, it's been a long time now. That's sad, but
you're dating yourself.
I know. That abducted a little girl out here, and he kept her captive for a long time, and everybody thought she had passed. And she, but he had that weird. But the guy blended into the public, even though that's what I was getting to, is that he went, and the weird thing was he did the same thing. He had the complete control over her, that he blended her into public, and she didn't say anything. So
well, and that's what we didn't mention before, is that. So we're talking about Marie, who was, haunting you, who was trying to get to you and give you some information that you needed so that she could have some peace and rest, But that's not a case that he has been, charged with. He's been charged with the kidnapping, the torture, and the rape of Colleen Stan. Back in, what was it, the 70s, the late 70s?
Well, he was actually, I believe he was convicted in 1984, and he was given 102 years for all. I think they charged him with 11 different things. He was eligible for parole in 2012. Obviously, it didn't work out for him because he's still there. But now,
well, that happens when you still. I would imagine you still have cases pending against him as well. I would hope they're still trying to file stuff against, injunctions against him about this other case.
Yeah, actually, I did learn a little bit about that scenario, but I can't really get into the reasons why. But he actually won't be. I guess he'll be released in 2022, and that's only if the murder conviction isn't prosecuted.
Well, and he held Colleen Stan, him and Janice together, held Colleen Stan for about 7 years. She was basically a sex slave. He was very, very much into like S&M and bondage and torture and things like that. And I mean, it's not just a matter of, he kept her there and he left her there and nobody else saw her. He actually had her and Janice as well. They were kind of mixing her with the family. She was cooking dinner, taking care of kids. She had a job at some point. She was allowed home to see her family at some point. And
then all along had to come home and sleep in a box under their waterbed.
Just a tiny box.
Size of a coffin. I mean, this thing, smaller than a coffin in my, from what I'm, looking at, I'm going...
And this is a couple who had children also, and these children, they exposed their children to this type of, behavior as well. So, could you imagine now what the kids, here the kids are thinking, who's this lady in our house taking care of us? And I don't know if she slept under their mom and dad's bed, but she was definitely a part of their life, so that's sad too, that this couple was so sadistic that they actually involved their children, in this scenario.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing that's really, I mean, I think a lot of people wouldn't understand, like she had, Colleen had all this freedom at some point, and, well, maybe not freedom, but opportunity to get away, to say something, to mention something to somebody. And I think a lot of people wouldn't understand unless they were in maybe psychology courses or things like that it is possible to have somebody so brainwashed to think that they can't do this and they won't do it for whatever reasons. And in this particular case, she actually signed a contract to be his slave, and he owned everything. And he also threatened her, with killing and hurting her family and killing and hurting her and, all these kind of things. So, this girl, this poor girl, how old was she? Like 20, 21 at the time when it began?
Yeah, so she was like, I think 27 or 28 when she was let go, or when, she could go freely back to her home.
Right.
Which is really, that's just a bizarre story. She was let out to actually work. She was working in the community of Red Bluff at a motel as a maid.
Right.
And Janice supposedly came to her senses one day out of the blue and confessed to her pastor at the Nazarene Church that her and her husband had held this woman captive for 7 years as a sex slave, and that they also had been involved in the disappearance of Marie Elizabeth Spanicky, which that didn't come out until later on.
Right.
But,
and that was where you also came in as well, isn't it?
What's that?
That's where you came in as well. It was kind of fuel.
That story went dormant. Yeah, that story went dormant for many, many years.
Right.
They didn't have enough information, evidence, or anything to prosecute that case ever. So it just kind of went to the wayside. And periodically, there would be, I found out later, there would be missing persons reports run on Marie Elizabeth Spanicky over the years. Please help us find Marie Elizabeth Spanicky. She's been missing since, January 31st, 1976. And so, this woman just basically, went away. She disappeared. And so I feel like my part of the story and Hannah's part and our community's part, really, friends and community, is to bring this story back to light, to awareness, not to sweep it under the carpet, that there was a murder, and that these people are actually dangerous.
Right.
Yeah, I mean...
And they're running amok in, at least one of them is running amok in the community still.
Yeah, and I mean, this is where, like, for me, the paranormal stuff comes in. I'm fascinated by, like I said before, like the psyche, like the human mind, why people do things that they do, what effect that has on people. But then again, I'm also an investigator. So here I am, and I've thought about this a lot. So here I am, I'm an investigator. There's things that are happening that are paranormal. You're having dreams, you're seeing these people, you're seeing a woman that these people have kidnapped and have hurt and murdered. And, I mean, how in the world did you tie these together? Because at some point you have to say, how can I see for myself and validate that this has some kind of merit? At what point did you finally go, okay, so this is Marie?
Right. Well, actually, that's the spiritual journey of discovery for me, and that's what I write about in Forgotten Burial, A Cry for Justice from Beyond the Grave. It's that's my spiritual journey, and it's me discovering who this missing person is, who the ghost is, what my experience was. It was an evolution of my soul and of the ghost soul as well, I believe. And so it's like, it just seems so, when I think about it, I think, God, this is so bizarre. But it happened, and it was like certain events had to take place at certain times before certain information could be revealed.
Right.
And so this was a discovery. Like I said, it was a spiritual journey of discovery. I didn't just immediately find out who the ghost was.
Right.
Even after I left that apartment complex,
Right.
I was basically told at the time, you can move out of here, we'll move you to somewhere else, but you need to be quiet, basically shut up, and don't say that this apartment complex or anything about it is haunted.
Right, because
So I was like,
at
hey,
that
no problem.
time, it wouldn't, at that time, they wouldn't have, like, a swarm of people running to the door saying, we want to live here, we want to live here. Like, now, that would be completely possible and probably happen,
I'm surprised there's not people right now trying to rent that place just for that purpose.
Yeah, I mean, seriously.
Right.
I'm not going to lie, I kind of thought about it when you started telling me they were jump roping. I thought, I've investigated a lot. I've never seen a jump rope go in the air by itself. And, and today's standards, that's a big draw. You get to pay, you'd have to pay extra for that room.
Right.
But back then, that's
scary. That would take business away. And, I mean, we talked a lot about, because we talked on the phone prior to this, but we talked about the spiritual journey that this, for you, for Marie. I mean, and it goes to show that, you know what? There is things that can be done to help spirits, to help the living.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's not just, go out, investigate, get an EVP, have a dream. There's so much more to that. And like you said, you have certain things that come into place, at the right time. Like in your case, you got married to a man that completely supported you trying to discover what happened here. So you find out, you go to the police, you tell them little things about, specific details that can say, okay, this is what happened. This is what she looked like. This is the injuries. This is what I saw on these people. This is what these people looked like. I mean...
Yeah, exactly. And the thing with the police, too, that was a bizarre experience as well. Like, I was really reluctant to call and share information with the police. I kind of just wanted to, throw this to the wayside and be like, yeah, that was a creepy experience. And Joel, he actually was like, Jodi, there's something here. There's more to this. He really encouraged me to, go to the police and give what information I had. But I was afraid because...
Well, sure. What do they haul you, make you accountable for what you know?
Well, or any other scenarios. Yeah. What if you're not? There's so many things that I can imagine have gone through your head, but I'm just so glad that you did. I'm so glad that this is coming out because, I have a special place in my heart for the spirits out there, that do need some help, that do have something they need to say, that have something that needs to come out so that they can move on and rest and, just do whatever it is that spirits do, because, we don't really know, but I do have a special place in my heart for them. It's just like your neighbor. Somebody that you love next door, somebody that you know next door that was a victim, that was, just had to deal with just horrible stuff, and coming together as a community, like you were saying, and finding something, some way for this specific soul to rest.
Right. I think about that a lot. I think about what would I do if it were my child,
Right.
Or what would I do if I were, I know this sounds really off the hook here, but what if I were a ghost?
Right.
Or am I a ghost in their world? Is that, how do our two realities interconnect? So there's a lot more to it than meets the eye, and I think that whatever you want to call it, God, higher power, angels, spiritual realm, there are those things.
Right.
And for people who are not believers or people who are skeptics. I mean, I like to call myself a skeptic because I'm
Right.
still skeptical of my experience. You know,
Right.
I like the scientific aspect of this as well. You know, I'm like, I need the facts.
Right.
I need to know, am I nuts or not?
Yeah.
You know?
They go hand in hand. I mean, how many times have you been out? I mean, you're not a paranormal investigator, but there's been situations that I've been in as an investigator where I've gone out, I've had something, you know, trigger a spiritual reaction in me, and I come across and I review my evidence and I find something like an EVP or something had happened at that exact moment. So you take the spiritual side, you put it in with the scientific side, and then you can come to some kind of, you know, at least some validation of something, you know, because we really can't prove one way or another. But when you have something so profound as dreaming about somebody, you know, for days and days upon, you know, in a time frame, you're in this apartment, which, you know, and I don't know if we mentioned it or not, but Marie actually lived in that apartment complex.
Yes.
So it would make a lot of sense that she was just waiting for the right person to listen and to take that next step so that she could be heard.
Right. And come to find out, over the decades, you know, there had been paranormal activity, and it wasn't just limited to the apartments that I was in. It was, you know, the complex. And what I found out later on, too, was that most of the time, and I found this pretty interesting, it was the children that lived in the apartment complex that were aware of the presence of this this woman who needed help, you know, and it was usually children under the age of 5.
Sure, which is that's kind of a common occurrence in the paranormal, where the kids have not been taught, they don't get to see, you know, they can't see spirits. So we find that pretty common in the paranormal side.
Yeah, they're still open
Animals
to it.
react, kids react, and then it goes back to elderly, and they start to react as well. So I don't know, you know, that's an interesting point, but it's kind of one that we've seen over and over again dealing with the paranormal as well. So, but to a kid, they don't understand. I mean, that girl's images that she's portraying onto you, man, as a 5-year-old kid to see that kind of stuff. Oh.
Well, and they didn't. I know that your daughter was affected by it as well. She actually saw her, and I mean, to her, she thought it was your friend. You know, she wasn't frightened. She wasn't scared. So
she wasn't scared at all. No, my daughter Hannah, who experienced this as well, her experience was very positive and very. She had no judgment whatsoever. As a kid, she just thought she was my friend in the house, following us around or kissing her on the head or whatever she had experienced, and it was not to her at all negative. It was completely normal. Now I understand, you know, but that's an interesting concept to me as well. It's like little kids and also, you know, people that would be considered mentally ill,
right?
Who experience more paranormal or things like, you know, that nature, whatever. It's like mentally ill little kids and highly sensitive people. I mean, it's like they're seeing these things, and maybe you're crazy, maybe you're not.
Right.
It's a fun time.
Well, I mean, so let's wrap this up just a little bit here, and I'm just going to kind of put it together because it all kind of goes in this book she's got out. I mean, this is the start of this book. She's got another one coming out. She's got hopefully this movie gets picked up because people need to know about this. But this poor girl starts out life pretty young, living in a rural area in a teepee. That I still can't get over that, Jodi. But she's living in a teepee. Her friend. I mean, where do these people? This girl comes out of nowhere and says, you know, hey, you got to get out of there. Get out of Amish teepee country, and move to you. You know, I joke about it. I know that you know that's not a big town where you're at, but you know, compared to where you were, it's probably it's a good sized town. And so you move into what I would consider the big city at your age with a young child. You get your own apartment. And I remember having my first appointment. It's just exciting as hell. So you get your first place. You start having these weird occurrences. And you got these creepy people coming to you like they're in your room. I mean, these guys are like they're standing next to you. I mean, these guys, I've got them on screen right now. That is a nightmare. That is not a that is not a dream. That's a nightmare. These guys are creepy as hell. He's got the big H on there, and you're seeing these signs of this horrific stuff happening.
Yeah, of somebody, and it's so vivid that you can't help this woman that you're watching. I mean, you can't do anything.
Right.
And
right.
Yeah, and so now you start thinking you're going crazy, and you've got no one to be there with you. So you think, okay, here's the way out. I'm going to get into this apartment downstairs. Aha. Okay, this is the one I really wanted. This will make me feel secure. This is, I'm moving up in the world, which is really down. But to you've got a young kid. You're figuring the basement apartment's a little more safer. You don't have to maybe, keep your eye out or worry every day or every second that they're going to fall down the stairs. You think life's going to start turning around a little bit. And then you start waking up to,
just crazy paranormal activity.
Crazy paranormal, past the point where any paranormal nowadays would just die for that kind of stuff. Right. But these people aren't living at home alone, moving into the city
with a
young daughter. And so this stuff starts happening where the chairs get stacked up, the jump rope's jumping in the middle of the thing,
the elbow dog.
Yeah, the dog's freaking out in the middle of nowhere, and these dreams are still coming.
And Ernie, sorry.
And they're getting worse and worse. And, and then all of a sudden, things start to unfold in the news about these freaky couple and how they abducted a girl.
Right. Well, my story unfolded over a period of about 7 or 8 years. So you got to remember too, like back in the year 1999 and the year 2000, there weren't like ghost shows. There weren't, any. Right. The paranormal was not like readily available on cable, and the internet at the time was, at its, infancy. I didn't even have the internet,
Right.
Cell phones and stuff like that. So at the time, I didn't really have anywhere to turn, and I didn't know what to do. There weren't paranormal teams. That thought never even crossed my mind back then.
It wasn't popular then.
Like, what's that?
It wasn't popular then. It wasn't mainstream.
No, right. And so, back then, it's like, who do you turn to? And I write about that in my book, too. I didn't know where to turn. I turned to a church, and I write about the experience I had with the church and, what that, how that unfolded and what I thought and what they thought and what they said to me, which was really, really hard at the time because they were there to help me, but they also condemned me. They thought I was, like, practicing some sort of, like, satanic rituals or something. And I'm like, oh my God, help me! Who am I going to turn to? Well, in the paranormal witness episode, I did actually call the police one time, and this is before Joel encouraged me to call later on, but they just treated me like I was some nutball, and they didn't take me serious. They're like, yeah, okay, someone's in your house, So the police weren't on my side, nor was the church. And so, I held a lot in over the years, just waiting and wondering how and who do I turn to?
Right, yeah. You're already thinking yourself you're crazy, and now no one wants to help you.
Right. So now I think, I feel blessed, and I think as a community, we're blessed that there are, people that are bringing awareness that there is a spiritual realm, and shows like Ghost Hunters and, My Ghost Story and different things in Paranormal Witness. It's like they're all sharing EVPs and experiences and stuff. Now my next thought or my next goal is thinking there's information now. Now what's the next step? Resolution. So we have this information. Now what do we do with it? What do we do with the information that we've gathered? There's some, I guess you would say, quote unquote, scientific, evidence. Okay, so we've captured an EVP. Now what do we do?
Right.
Who is this person on the EVP?
Right.
With my story, it was an unfolding over a period of years and understanding what it was and eventually working with the police. So does that happen? I mean, ghost stories are cool and I love them, now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I just think that there's more to it. There's more to this than just capturing different things. There
Absolutely.
has to be some kind of spiritual help or resolutions or whatever. I mean,
well, and that I think is the mark of a good investigator. I'm going to just say it, paranormal advocate. I mean, seriously. Because if
that's a great word.
Yeah, paranormal advocate, because you have these EVPs, like you say. You go out, you're investigating a place. It is so hard, though. I mean, I've done it for years, and I know how hard it is to really pinpoint the person that you're talking to find them in history. I mean, and if you can dig and dig and dig, and you do find that, I mean, that to me, like I said, your story is just amazing to me because you did this, and it took some years, but that is also just the mark of a paranormal advocate because you're out there, you're waiting for the time, and it does, like you said, in time, when it's right, it's going to come out. As long as you don't give it up.
Tammy, that word, that is a great show. Paranormal advocate. Oh my God. We need to get on that because
she's brilliant.
That's that. I mean, seriously, that's like the next step.
It is.
That's
it
awesome.
Absolutely is. And I that is to me, like I said, my dream, to get out there and to really make a difference because I know that there's spirits out there and I know they need help and they're just waiting for the right person to come and listen. And to actually, have their back or whatever you want to call it, be their advocate.
Well, that was what she told me about your story. I mean, your story is fascinating, but what's more fascinating is how you basically followed through and helped that spirit with a little bit of closure.
And continue to do.
Yeah, and I don't think that your story is over. You're still out there promoting it, trying to get everything out there, and to let the public know that there's more to this sick son of a bitch that's sitting in jail, eating 3 meals a day while his little freak girlfriend's out running around trying to teach little kids to be good. Really? I mean, something people need to know about this, and that's why you're here. And your story is unique as they come. Mm-hmm. There is no better story than being able to watch, in our eyes, in my eyes, what you saw is horrific to me, and I don't know mentally if I could have done something that way. So I could, I salute you there. You're super strong because to see that horror unfold, and then to even start to see that there's realism to that as you go, as the story unfolds, and then to kind of look back and go, oh my God, that stuff I saw would, to me, I would be like, I think I'm going to cut this guy's head off from about the shoulders up and just, hanging up in the fence so people can see that these sick son of a bitches shouldn't be out there. I mean, to have that self-control and to keep going like you are, and that's what what she was telling me about the more remarkable side of this story is. And I think I definitely find you courageous to do that.
Right.
So.
Remembering Marie. That's who it is.
Thank
it's
you.
Not about the sick people out there. Even though they played this huge part in this whole story, remember Marie. There's people out there.
Exactly, yeah. It's remembering Marie, and the bigger story, I think, was, yes, she passed to a different realm or whatever, but this is a spiritual journey of discovery, like I keep saying. It's like, this is bigger than, just a ghost story. This is much bigger than a ghost story. This is a story that can touch people's lives, and make a difference in the future. I mean, this is something that I think Marie wanted as well. It wasn't just find my remains and call it a day, because,
Well, I think it's also, I know that spirits are people. I do.
Right.
It could also be, something for them. You know what? You can be heard. I mean, this is the day and age that you as a spirit have a voice. It's no longer you're silent. You can tell your story, and there will be somebody that will listen. And you can get help.
Yeah, and you're out giving those people the courage to come forward, and you know, because there's gonna be some ridicule. You went through it. You know, you talked about it with the police.
Definitely.
You know, but
people are like, yeah, right.
be that paranormal advocate and stand up for what you've seen and believe and know and help that spirit out and come together, because you know the technology today is allowing people to do that, and you know, and you went as far as putting it in a book. I mean, that stuff is not cheap. You put your money out there to tell your story. Again, it's about Marie. You're telling your story about Marie and helping her out and bringing that courage to people to help the next spirit in line. And you continue to do it. And so, listen, people, the people that are watching, you need to get online. We've got your website on the right on the page. Get on there and buy this book and read this story and help this cause. This is huge. You got to get this cause. She's got another book. She's got more of this story to tell. She's got a movie that she wants to see. We want to bring this stuff to the public. We want to show people Marie. We want to show her story and believe. And she lived and she died and
she's still living.
And she's still living. That's huge. And so get on there and help this cause out and let's get this ball rolling for the next person as well. For the next person to stand up and say, listen, I've got some stuff too, and this is real. I mean, these spirits are coming to me, and they need help. They need to be able to get on with their lives.
Well, and I think this story it brings the paranormal community together. You know what I mean? In a bigger way than just simply a ghost story. It shows that there's a lot. It's multi-layered. You know. Right. And another story that's like that too is Andrea Perron's story, The Conjuring, which is going to be out soon.
Right.
Her story is really cool too, and I think that hers is kind of similar. I mean, there's people like this that are coming forward, and it's not about so much. It's like, yes, there are paranormal things. Yes, it was a ghost story, but it's a lot deeper than that.
Right.
And I love that word, paranormal.
It's the error of the spirit. Let the spirit that died too soon live again and be able to tell their story.
Right. I mean, seriously, it's just one of those things that says, you know what? You as the paranormal investigator, there is more you can do.
Yes, absolutely.
There is more. You know, you can dig. And at some point, you will find that one case, that one spirit that will open up and that will talk to you. You have to listen. You have to listen.
Yes.
And you have to have the courage to go out there and tell the story.
So, woohoo, Jodi!
Nice
woohoo,
job.
Marie!
All right, girl, so listen up.
I appreciate you guys having me on. Thank you so much.
We have come to our end. So tell the people where you can get your book. I've got it up on screen again, but let them know. Where are they gonna get this? How are they gonna get a hold of you?
Okay, well, you can go to my website. The book will be ready for pre-order in September, but it actually won't be on the bookshelves until February 8th, 2014. So you gotta keep coming back to the website and checking it out. But it's through Llewellyn Publishing. So Llewellyn Publishing, and when things when it comes time where you can actually order it, I'll give you guys a heads up and let everybody know, but it's out there and ready to go.
We'll definitely do a reminder of it because it's just, like I said, I love this story. I've been talking nonstop about this story because it just really, it touches me. I think it was the only time that I watched a show that I actually choked up. I mean, seriously, how many times have you seen a show that's sad or, a story that's sad? But this one actually really choked me up, and I love it.
Well, and she's been telling me for years, the last few years about this kind of a case and wanting to do this kind of thing. She just hasn't had luck in, she says it's so luck. Rare. I say it's horror, but of a spirit to come to her and ask for that help. So, when she found a case that was similar to that and somebody that had true life lived it, man, it just became a major passion of hers, and I can see why now, being able to be part of it. So it's awesome.
It is. It's very, very cool. And we will definitely keep everybody posted. If you guys want to find out more about this story, go to her website. Definitely keep your eye out for her book, and then order it. And, you have a blog, so you can talk back and forth, and I mean...
You can Facebook me. I have a Twitter, a Facebook, and my website, and I love to talk to people. I'm totally open to like having anyone, you know, with their own experiences or just need to talk or anything. You know, it's trying to bring people together for me. You know.
Right.
Well, and give them some guidance along the way. You've done it. You've lived it. You know what's going to happen, and so that'll make it easier. So get in touch with her if you've got a similar story and you need some help helping that spirit.
Absolutely. So we are going to end it for tonight. We've gone over a little bit. Like I said, I'd talk forever about this. I could just go on and on and on and on because it's beautiful. It's a beautiful story to me. It really is, and I love it.
Thank you.
I love it.
Yeah, thanks again for coming on tonight, Jodi. We really appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Okay, well,
yes,
we will
thank
talk.
You so much.
We'll talk with you later. We'll keep in touch. Okay.
Okay. Take care. Bye.
Have a good night. I love that. I absolutely love that story.
That was awesome.
I love it.
I can see why you have a passion for it, for sure, in that whole era. Because there's a whole other angle about helping the spirits and being able to bring it forward and share their story as they, thinking that they had tragically lost their life early and knowing that no one's going to know what happened and Jodi's out there telling their story for them.
Absolutely.
To put them at rest.
And for Marie also to come out and, relive it, in such it's just awful. Jodi saw what happened to her in her dreams. She saw this torture. She saw this woman get hurt time after time. And, she was brave enough to put herself out there to somebody that she hoped would listen, after time, kids seeing at the same apartment complex, people knowing that there's something going on there. And finally, one person listened.
Yeah, she was going to let us in on a couple insights about some of the details of the case, but we decided that depending on who's watching, wasn't probably good to have out. So
right, because this is an ongoing case. They are still looking into this, still trying to prosecute for this, still trying to find those things.
But if you want to know, in person, where it's not so public, email her. She'll fill you in on some of the details of what happened and the shocking things that this guy had done. So. What a great story anyway.
I know.
That was really good.
I know. Remembering Marie, you guys. Remembering Marie.
Who do you got coming up?
We've got John Tobin coming up next week.
John? Tobin. Oh my gosh.
I know. He is he is so well known in the paranormal field. He's so many Paracons. He's got his own radio shows. He's been on so many interviews. He even, what was it? So many things. He got a team. Glory Hunt Hounds. Many things.
So you guys need to tune in. I want to thank everybody for watching tonight on my behalf, for letting me watch and get in front of this camera again. These girls make it look easy every week, every Tuesday. They make it look easy, and it's not. I can get up here and make a fool of myself all day long. That's who I am. But to do the serious reporting, Cammie and Kathy are there. So thanks for putting up with me tonight. They're going to be back next week. The girls, they're going to get on an unbelievable show with John. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. And remember,
we are not alone.